Hi, everyone. Welcome to Agoric's December Pillar Series event. This month, we have our CEO, Dean Tribble, coming in to talk about the Agoric public chain and our economy. So with that, I'm going to bring Dean on.
Good morning. As he said, this is Dean Tribble. I'm the Agoric CEO, and I'm excited to talk to you all about our public chain and economy. First, a bit of housekeeping. Please, you can join our Discord and ask questions there, or you can ask questions in the YouTube channel. And if I miss them, our fearless product manager will pop in and point you out. So thank you for joining us, and I look forward to conversation here. So in 2018, Agoric was founded, and we had a vision of building large-scale distributed commerce so that we could move the entire vibrant world economy online by improving smart contracts and making them accessible to many more millions of people. And that's a vision that we've been pursuing even before blockchain, back into our history when we worked on early smart contracts and early large-scale distributed commerce systems. We knew that was a lot of work, but we've done a lot of large-scale systems and brought a lot of big systems to life. But you get into 2019 and, oh my God, it's really a lot of work, right? So we're moving forward in time, crunching down, but in that time, doing that work, we built a bunch of technology pieces that have since been adopted and used in other places. The underlying secure JavaScript that underpins our system is used inside of things from Salesforce on through to the next generation of the MetaMask wallet infrastructure. So there are several technologies we built. That the secure JavaScript, the IBC, the inter-blockchain communication protocol that we did in conjunction with other teams in the Cosmos environment, and that's now at 1.0 and rolling out to a blockchain near you. So we're very excited about those things. But this year, it's now really putting all those pieces together, putting our approach, putting our smart contract technology together in order to enable, in order to accelerate DeFi. And I've talked at various times about how that works. Now we're talking about where that's all going to go. So we have our technology for accelerating DeFi. I'm going to talk about the place that goes and why it goes there. Okay, so there are several challenges, though, that we saw in 2018, and some of them have been solved or mitigated in isolation, but they haven't all been put together. One that lots of people are aware of is the poor performance of existing systems for DeFi. And there's a lot of scaling efforts, there's a lot of performance efforts, but fundamentally it remains a challenge in the core places where people are building this stuff. And the Agoric solution, the Agoric is producing a public chain that is based on the battle-tested, hardened, Tendermint consensus system. And so this is a virtual machine chain, so you can deploy multiple smart contracts running with fast finality and Tendermint underneath. And of course, for those of you that we've been working with across the Cosmos ecosystem, you're well aware of all the reasons we chose this. Now, that does not solve all performance problems. There are plenty of others around. For example, rapidly scheduling lots of jobs, communication between smart contracts that didn't need to be addressed so far in the Cosmos ecosystem. Well, we put all those pieces together with the other things that I'll talk about shortly. Second is, so we moved to proof of stake, and a lot of the world of blockchain is moving to proof of stake. But that has challenges of economic pressure towards centralization, which we've seen across several different networks. And that's a challenge that is important. It's crucial for this world to stay decentralized and to be able to grow. We kind of know the answer to that, which is staking derivatives, and lots of people are working on that, but it's hard to roll that out in a system where it requires a large-scale governance action to do so. And once you have staking derivatives, once you have a digital instrument, an asset that you could turn around and sell in a market, well, you need a market. Right? And more than that, you can't just sell it in a market. You need to be able to build secondary derivatives on that and pools on that and resell the derivatives of those pools. And so you really need an economy, an extensible economy that those fundamental tools around the staking derivatives, staking, the money involved in that, an extensible economy that all of those are a part of it, so that we can not just implement the things that we understand now, but we can rapidly deploy new solutions as the market condition changes, as our desires change here. Okay, So that means the answer is an extensible economy. Now, what do I mean by an economy? Well, some of it is a place where these go such that multiple businesses can interoperate with a consistent notion of pricing and exchange, so that one customer can see multiple business units, decide between them, collaborate across them, have long-term arrangements between these different businesses and so forth. So we're very excited about that, and that's the vision that we've had for a very long time, of not just a platform that you can deploy software to run it, but a platform where you can deploy software to safely run it in a stable economy so it can cooperate. And put all that together so you can rapidly deploy those things. Okay. Let's talk about that rapid deployment, because a lot about what it's going to take to be able to make all of this grow out to the mainstream environment is being able to much more rapidly produce new businesses, much more rapidly get them into a market where they earn money for their creators, much more rapidly and safely have those talk together, have those cooperate, have those be able to engage and trade with each other, so that you can build a growing network of business among multiple different parties, right? It's not about us being successful. It's not about one or two people being successful. It's about a world of entrepreneurs being successful. That's what it'll take to move the world online here. But we've all had this expression on our face, right? If we've done development or we've tried to use some of these tools, oh my God, right? We know there's a long way to go in the developer experience to get even from where crypto is now to the low bar that mainstream developers expect out of their tools and out of their ability to build and deploy businesses. You know, right now there are Electric Capital estimated 10,000 actually active developers versus 10 million active developers in the larger ecosystem. It's those developers we need to enable to build these smart contracts, enable to participate in these economies that we're creating. And a key to that, as we've talked about before, is composition, right? People are excited right now about the composition where I can write a transaction, have a wallet, talk to multiple different businesses, do a transaction across multiple businesses. And that's very powerful, that's very exciting, but it's not what I mean by composition. What I mean by composition is the exponential composition you get out of NPM or React, where an amateur now, someone with a relatively small amount of training in React, can do a much better, more impressive, more interactive, internationalized, flashy, responsive application than an expert could do 10 years ago, because they can take components from other people built by experts at what that component does, whether it's a slideshow or an auction UI or what have you, and plug it together with other pieces in order to construct their business, right? And so that's what we need in order for more than 10,000 developers to get on board to drive DeFi and blockchain to the next level. And so that's what we're building is, you know, we can reach those millions of developers by letting them program in a language they're familiar with, JavaScript, with a model like React, like Vue, like these other components of DeFi Legos that really plug together into a single app inside of a smart contract framework that successfully supports exchange, business, and the other kinds of things you want your DeFi application to do. So that's the direction, that's the solution that we put together on top of fast system with extensible economy and these DeFi Legos. So what does that look like?
And Dean, but before you move on, we had a question come in around the fast system part. So Double asked, what's our take on sidechains? Do we think the scalability issue has to be solved in the core layer?
So the answer is, we do think scalability, some of it must be solved in the core layer when you start adding richer and richer interaction. There's huge value in especially the zero knowledge sidechains and so forth. The architecture that all of our system is based on is designed for large-scale distributed systems originally, where blockchains come in and they add integrity to execution. Now, instead of one machine operated by some guy I have to trust, it's 100 machines or 1,000 machines all having to agree on the answer, and so it's not subject to compromise. That's the integrity the blockchain brings. But fundamentally, our model provides uniform distributed systems so that I can, in fact, spin up a side chain where it's not a side chain that's so radically different to program in a different environment, it has the same secure composition Lego model that is distributed uniformly with our public chain. So we can easily set up a side chain with a business that delivers digital assets into the public chain for trade on the public markets. There are previous talks out of our hackathon series that talk a fair bit about that. And if you're interested, you should definitely look into how all of that goes together, because it's actually quite exciting to be able to program smart contracts and then migrate them or deploy them in multiple different environments and have it all work together transparently and seamlessly. Okay, and so our economy is big chain, a place to be able to deploy these smart contracts in a public market, but you can do so by having it attached to these side chains that have some of those same components, all communicating with the contracts on chain in a smooth, seamless manner, leveraging IBC, but also leveraging the larger scale, high performance distributed technology that we've built over decades before starting Agoric. Okay. So what is an economy, right? It's a place where multiple businesses, as I said, can interoperate, can cooperate, can engage in trade and exchange with consistent prices. But fundamentally, it needs a medium of exchange, right? And so inspired by the unified DAO work in the Cosmos ecosystem, where it's getting a bunch of people together to realize and build out all of the ways in which the Cosmos ecosystem can take advantage and improve the world of DeFi. There the chant is Mo. So I'm calling this, for purposes of this presentation, our medium of exchange is Mo, right? So we have on the top, we have the consumer economy, the place where your smart contracts go, the place where users come in as market participants to buy and sell DeFi assets, to deploy new smart contracts, to build new businesses, to sell to other market participants, to deploy bots that are going to do trading for you proactively inside the market, because you can have long-lived contracts and long-lived programs that will wake up and do things in the market and so forth. So that's the consumer economy on the top. At the bottom is the capital economy, where there's staking and collateralization of loans and those kinds of things. We'll talk a little bit more about each of these in a moment. Okay, but inside that consumer economy at the top are market institutions where, when my business does an arrangement with some other business, I'm not necessarily talking to the bank, but there's banks involved. It's part of the ecosystem. It's part of the infrastructure of the economy that we're embedded in. And so we refer to those as market institutions. So market institutions are themselves businesses in the economy, but they hold a special place because they're providing the framework and glue and grease to make transactions and trade happen better. So the medium of exchange is a big part of that grease to be able to glue this environment together. But the treasury that produces that, the AMM that lets you trade that, those are all smart contracts in themselves, but they're deployed as part of this economy in order to make it easy to deploy new and richer businesses, especially DeFi businesses. Okay, so let's look at that treasury a little bit more, right? It is it's about producing Mo, where it uses the same mechanisms of the stablecoin. What we care about for a medium of exchange is relatively low volatility. And I'll talk a little bit more about why that later, but that makes it easier for businesses to build and plan in an economy. And so we use the same mechanisms used for stablecoins, and it has a lot of the same architecture, but the fundamental focus is, oh my gosh, everyone everywhere should use this currency. No. It's about a local currency to grease the wheels of trade and commerce in the local environment. So when you go to Europe, you trade your assets or your personal currency for a local currency to spend in local markets. That's the focus here. It's enabling these components, these markets to be deployed, these businesses to be deployed in a stable economy where they can usefully communicate and cooperate in terms of the same set of prices. That's the value of having a coin at the transactional level of the economy, at the consumer economy level. So it's familiar and a consistent approach. It provides consistent pricing and a unit of account that allows users to be able to understand what's going on across many businesses. Now, it is crucial that the Treasury is part of that economy, and the thing that's especially different is that the Treasury is built as part of that economy. So first, we get the collateralization brought over via IBC or from the local markets. And so IBC is the inter-blockchain communication protocol. Unlike most chains prior to this, we don't launch in a vacuum. When we launch our public chain in 2021, we launch connected to all the pools of assets that are available in the Cosmos ecosystem via IBC, connected with various interop protocols to Ethereum and so forth. The goal is not to make an isolated island over here, but to connect to the richer, broader market, starting with the crypto market and gradually growing out to the public markets and the mainstream economy. Right? And so the mechanism of that is connecting via IBC to other Cosmos zones that, or other Polkadot zones or Celo or any of these things that are implementing this inter-blockchain communication protocol, and be able to bridge those assets over to where people can bring them over, use them as collateral to convert to the local currency, and spend that currency in these markets to do various kinds of DeFi things. And one of the things that's then special about that Treasury, that's special about our implementation of these mechanisms versus prior ones, is that because this asynchronous system allows a component, smart contracts to wake up asynchronously, it can, for example, notice that it is time to liquidate some vaults, and it liquidates proactively on the local market. So it can liquidate against this AMM or other local markets without waiting for off-chain bidders that are subject to denial of service to come in and make bids on those assets. So that makes for a smoother, more integral relationship of the Treasury to the rest of the economy. And that ability of being, that ability of being intrinsic to the chain means both that it gets to participate in the local markets easily. It's not a bolt-on thing; it's intrinsically part of it. I'll say a bunch of various ways that Mo gets used in other parts of the economy. But also, the liquidation strategy gets to leverage that position. So what are some of the elements here? When I bring in collateral and I get a loan, we will indeed have liquidity rewards. We'll talk about that later. Because it's intrinsic to the chain, the liquidity rewards are in terms of the staking token. That's a big deal. Instead of being in terms of a secondary token for a particular market on there, it's part of the overall economy. It gets to liquidate against the local markets. It provides rewards to the validators and stakers, we'll say a little bit more about later. And fundamentally, if there's a run on the collateral and it has to liquidate positions at a loss, it has a liquidation order, or an ability to cover the default, first from obviously over collateralization, which is a typical mechanism in vaults, from stablecoin backers that are backers of both the chain and the stablecoin, and then finally, worst case, it can mint new staking tokens in order to ensure that the environment that we're providing doesn't just allow rapid, safe composition of applications, but deployment of those in a stable economy. The people driving this chain are behind making it both safe, secure, and stable. Okay, so one of the ways that the Mo gets used and that is intrinsic to the economy, again, another way, rather, that it's intrinsic to the economy, is the execution machine, the gas fees, if you will, are paid in Mo, are paid in the local currency. And why is that? Well, partly we had it, and every contract, especially long-lived contracts, are going to have some of the Mo available to be able to pay for execution. So that's much simpler. But if you paid in an appreciating asset, an asset that goes up, then if it goes up enough, suddenly the people just trying to get business done are competing with speculators in this thing that ought to have been a currency, right? When businesses are, the way I think about the execution machine is that's like postage, right? Every business needs it. In order to get something done, you need some postage to be able to send physical mailings or deliveries or what have you. But it's not your number one price, except for a number one cost, except for a very few businesses. It's a line item in your budget and you're kind of done, right? Similarly, if you take an Uber ride as a consumer, you don't think about gas price. That's the problem of the business that you're talking to. You think about the business relationship you have with Uber or Lyft, or the application interaction, right? And so if you have an appreciating asset, now it would be like paying in stock for postage, which is kind of crazy from a business point of view. And the nice thing is so you don't want a speculative asset, because then you're competing against, should I store some of this asset in my long-lived contract, or should I keep it in order to invest with it, right? You have these conflicts of intent that make it complicated, that make it unnecessarily complicated to manage and run and deploy and be profitable in a new business. Similarly, you don't want a depreciating asset, because one of the key things that we can do that is hard in other systems is long-lived contracts, subscriptions, mortgages, insurance contracts. Many businesses, much of the economy, the backbone of it is long-lived contracts and long-lived business relationships. We like that. We want to empower that by allowing contracts to hold assets and wake up and spend them on business with other contracts. It can't do that if the assets that it's holding are going down in value, and its spending power that it allocated for a subscription is no longer able to pay for it, right? And so those mechanics are some of why what it turns out you want is a very low volatility coin. A stable coin is fine. It's not important that it's really, perfectly stable. It's nice, but it's crucial that it be low volatility so that businesses can plan with respect to the use of that budget line item, if you will. Okay. So we use Mo to pay for execution, and those kinds of considerations, they don't matter for very highly leveraged businesses that can deal with a lot of speculation. But there's a lot of businesses out there that really are only possible if they can predict their budget, that can be very profitable if they can manage how their cash flow works, all those kinds of things. And we want to enable those too. That's what will allow much of these mainstream economic applications to come in, new financial trading use cases to come in and be available to DeFi traders, bringing DeFi out to more conservative businesses that want to do trading but can't quite deal with the environment yet. All those kinds of things are what we need to bridge from blockchain to the worldwide economy, and many of them are very, very exciting to the people currently in the economy and to the people outside. Okay, so you pay in stablecoin. The execution machine is using a deterministic auction. It's inspired by our chief scientist Mark Miller's groundbreaking work back in 1988, the Agoric Open Systems papers, where it talks about the escalator algorithm as a stable algorithm for doing fair share scheduling in a competitive market. It was an inspiration, and those papers were an inspiration to much of the work that's shown up in various parts of the crypto ecosystem. And indeed, the escalator algorithm in particular was specifically considered for next-gen economics in Ethereum. So it's well-regarded work that is the core of being able to do many of these kinds of efficient scheduling. And that's really nice. Because it's a deterministic algorithm, it means that validators can execute it independently without having to coordinate and come up with the same schedule of activity given the set of items on our schedule of execution. So those kinds of things are very exciting. It makes it very easy to have predictable markets and increase performance as we go forward. Okay, and then the final thing is those fees don't go to the validator. That's another element where if they go to validators, if gas fees go to the miners, now you have a fundamental misalignment between the incentive of the miners to raise the gas price so they make more money, and the incentive of the people who are of the economy overall, where I don't want to be bidding to send my invitation to a gala to someone. I just want to pay a postage and be done with it, right? There's one of those things where arranging for having those misaligned incentives can lead to bad economics around the gas price. This aligns those incentives. Everyone in the system wants there to be more business on the chain. They're still bidding for priority in order to have the gas price reflect that higher priority, higher valued actions happen with priority over lower valued actions. I will be able to close escrow at a reasonable price before the party invitation response goes through, or those kinds of competitive needs. But that's not fundamentally the way the people operating the system get rewarded. Instead, the gas prices go into the stability pool for Mo, so that you have higher assurance that indeed these contracts and these businesses are operating in a stable economy. So paid in Mo for execution, deterministic auction, so that we can have a better model and a more stable pricing of execution. And then finally, those execution fees go into the stablecoin pool. Into the pool for stabilizing the stablecoin, so that if vaults are sold off at below market, the fees to cover that default first come out of that stability pool. Okay, so now how does that reward work if the reward is not from the gas fees? It is fundamentally crucial that the rewards scale with the economic activity on the chain. Now, all of the investors, all of the stakers, all of the validators, they want that for value capture. And if you look at most chains out there, they don't actually have a very good story for how activity on the chain parlays itself into value for the investors that are making the chain possible, or value for the operators that are driving the chain and driving it forward so that you can do more business. But especially in a proof of stake system, it's not just good for people and rewarding to make them want to operate it, it's crucial for the security of the system. And since the mission is, rapid deployment of safe, smart contracts in a stable economy, that security is a crucial element of what we're delivering here. And so it must be the case that the value associated with execution and economic activity in the chain, as that goes from $1 million to $1 billion to $10 billion, the value of the network has to go commensurately with that and grow with that economy, so that it's still providing economic activity so it's still providing economic security, so that the stake is still a relevant amount and people will not want to sacrifice the stake in order to attack the system, right? And that's a tenet of proof of stake systems. So how does that work in this system? Fundamentally, you have to extract value from elements of the economic activity. So the treasury that produces this medium of exchange that is used for execution and other services on the chain, that treasury charges fees just like you see in lots of other mechanics. But here, the fees go into a reward pool that would be paid out to the stakers and validators and so forth. So the fees for renting, if you will, Mo based on your collateral, which varies on the type of collateral, of course, but those fees accumulate and are provided to the people operating the execution environment and providing the backing for the security of execution. Similarly, when the treasury liquidates, it's using the AMM. The AMM is a fundamental part available in the market, so it's easy to convert from one currency to another or one kind of digital asset to another. And those fees for trading largely go into the same reward pool. So providing an economic environment where it's very easy to move assets between types and between contracts, that's the value that the people running the chain are providing. They're getting a reward as a result coming out of the liquidity, the liquidity pools in AMM and in the treasury. And then finally, since as we're first starting this out, the economy is relatively small compared to the effort of getting it going, there is a bootstrap phase where that reward pool is enhanced, if you will, with staking tokens. So during the bootstrap phase, there will be staking tokens provided as part of the reward as well. So the reward is part Mo, part staking tokens. Now, a key element out of all of this is, again, therefore the reward pool, the reward of the overall economy flows into the staked tokens, and therefore enhances the value that is securing the network. It is also the case that just like these bootstrap staking tokens, these bootstrap rewards for staking, there are also bootstrap rewards for liquidity and economic operation. So that collateral coming in over IBC, that collateral, taking a loan, taking out Mo and using it, is rewarded by, liquidity mining basically, is rewarded by not just tokens that are sort of tokens about a particular contract, but staking tokens for the entire economy make up the liquidity reward for bringing assets. So the overall, result here is we're doing liquidity mining over IBC. It's, traders come and bring their assets for the liquidity, and then they stay for the marketplace. And that's the world that we are building here. And we're very looking forward to all of you joining us. And we think we have all the pieces together so that developers can rapidly build the next generation of DeFi. We've got the libraries, the component market, the market institutions, all coming together with a place to deploy those in a successful economy. So please, validators, come to testnet and look at validating. We will be starting incentivized testnets early next year. Developers come and start learning the mechanism and learning how to start building smart contracts that can deploy into this environment, so you can rapidly innovate, rapidly deploy new businesses in an environment that has real money attached. And we're excited for you to join us. Thank you for joining me today, and happy to take questions, both here and in the future on our Discord.
And looks like you had covered the question that came in, Dean. And as Dean mentioned, please join us on Discord. The team's available. We're available to talk about any of these aspects. I dropped the Discord invite link in the chat here. And as Dean alluded to earlier, we had a hackathon in conjunction with Chainlink over the last month or so, and a bunch of great presentations came out of that. So, take a look out on our YouTube channel and come see some details on how the system is built. All right, and with that, I'm gonna bring you down, Dean. And thanks everybody for joining. This is our Pillar series. We're doing one presentation roughly every month about different topics. Some of them may be more technical, some of them may be more economic focused. And we appreciate you guys joining. And as always, join our Discord and come interact. And we'll see you next month.